All right, so you're here with us because you really want to cut to the chase, right? You want to get right to the good stuff.
Where did you
no
come
messing around.
And that's exactly what we're going to do. Today, we're diving deep into a pinball machine. But not just any pinball machine.
Well, no. We're talking about Williams' FunHouse from 1990.
A true classic. And we've got something really interesting to work with here. A whole podcast script all about FunHouse.
This script is going to be our guide as we unpack this game. What made FunHouse so special? Why do people still love it after all these years? Those are the questions we're here to answer.
It's more than just nostalgia. There's something about this game that really captured people's imaginations.
Okay, so let's set the stage a little bit. 1990, that was like the tail end of what a lot of folks consider like the golden age of Williams pinball, right? They were really cranking out some amazing machines.
Yeah, they were absolutely dominant in the arcades at that time, just pumping out hit after hit. And within that context, FunHouse stands out as something truly special.
It wasn't just another game in a long line of hits. FunHouse really pushed the boundaries.
It did. And a lot of that comes down to the vision of the designer, Pat Lawler.
Now, pinball fans out there know that name, Pat Lawler. This is the guy who later went on to create some of the most iconic pinball machines of all time.
Exactly, the Addams Family Twilight Zone. Just absolute legends.
And his concept for FunHouse was so cool, an abandoned nighttime fair. It's kind of spooky, kind of whimsical. What was he going for with that?
I think he was trying to create a real atmosphere with this game. Something a little bit different, that abandoned fairground theme. It immediately makes you think of something mysterious and maybe a little bit creepy. And the main goal of the game was to make your way through this ghostly carnival and reach midnight.
Oh, so there was an in-game clock ticking away. That's pretty innovative for the time. Adding that element of time pressure must have been a whole new challenge for players.
Yeah, it definitely added a new layer of strategy to the game. You couldn't just meander around the playfield. You had to be purposeful to reach that midnight deadline.
But let's be real here. The thing that everyone remembers about FunHouse is Rudy. Oh, yeah. You can't talk about FunHouse without talking about Rudy.
Rudy was a total game changer. Literally. I mean, he was the first fully animatronic talking head in a pinball machine ever.
That's right. Think about that for a second. This wasn't just lights and sounds. This is an actual physical character with moving eyes and a mouth that could actually talk to you.
He would taunt you if you missed a shot. He would cheer you on if you did well. I mean, it must have been mind-blowing for players back then.
It was totally revolutionary. This level of interaction had never been seen before in a pinball machine.
And Rudy wasn't just there for show. He was actually integrated into the gameplay itself, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So, remember that in-game clock we talked about?
Yeah, ticking down to midnight.
Right. Well, as you got closer to midnight, certain game modes and bonuses would become available. So you were really encouraged to try and advance that clock as quickly as you could.
Makes sense. Got to keep things moving. And then there were the ramps and targets. They weren't just placed randomly on the playfield. Hitting certain targets would open up new ramps or activate special features. It was all very deliberate and tied into that fairground theme.
And of course, we can't forget multi-ball. Every pinball fan loves a good multi-ball frenzy. How did FunHouse handle that?
Well, they tied it in with Rudy and that midnight theme. So once you managed to make it to midnight in the game, Rudy would actually fall asleep right there on the playfield.
No way. So he would just be snoozing away.
Yeah, you'd be totally out.
Uh-huh.
And his mouth would be slightly open. And to activate multi-ball, you had to shoot a pinball right into his mouth while he was sleeping.
That is so clever. So it wasn't just about getting more balls in play. It was like a challenge that was directly related to Rudy and the story of the game.
Exactly. FunHouse wasn't just a bunch of cool features thrown together. It was a cohesive experience. The setting, the characters, the mechanics, they all worked together to create something really special.
It was an immersive experience. You weren't just playing a game. You were stepping into this wacky world of an abandoned fairground with this talking animatronic head as your guide.
And that's a big part of why it was such a huge hit when it came out in 1990. It was unlike anything people had ever seen before.
Yeah, the reviews were glowing. It was a critical and commercial success. This wasn't just a niche thing. FunHouse was a mainstream phenomenon.
Oh yeah, it was a massive hit in the arcade. People were lining up to play it.
And that popularity translated into some pretty impressive sales numbers. Williams ended up producing over 10,000 FunHouse machines.
That's right. And those weren't cheap machines to make either, so that just shows you how much faith Williams had in this game. Yeah. And they were right to have that faith.
They were. FunHouse is still considered one of the best pinball machines of all time, and it's still highly sought after by collectors today.
If you can find a FunHouse machine in good condition, you're going to pay a pretty penny for it.
But even if you can't track down an original FunHouse machine, you can still experience this classic game.
Absolutely, thanks to the magic of digital pinball simulators.
There are some great ones out there. Pinball Arcade is a good example.
Yeah, Pinball Arcade does a great job of recreating the look and feel of the original FunHouse.
So even if you weren't around in 1990, you can still experience this groundbreaking game.
And I think that's really important. It's a reminder that great game design is timeless.
So when we look back at FunHouse, what's the key takeaway? What made this game so special and so enduring?
I think it comes down to that perfect blend of technology and theme. Rudy wasn't just a gimmick, he was a character. He brought the game to life in a way that had never been done before.
And that's a powerful thing. When a game can transport you to another world and make you feel like you're part of something bigger than yourself.
It's an escape, it's an adventure, it's a story that you get to play.
Now, for those of you listening who maybe haven't had the chance to play FunHouse, just imagine for a second what it would be like to have this talking animatronic head reacting to your every move.
Think about the personality that Rudy must have had. The taunts, the cheers, the little sighs of frustration. He was almost a living being.
And it makes you wonder what's possible today with all the technology we have at our fingertips.
Exactly. If a pinball machine from 1990 could create such an immersive and interactive experience with a physical animatronic character, imagine what we could do now with advanced digital technology.
I mean, think about the kinds of interactive characters we could create. Characters that are even more responsive and engaging than Rudy.
It really makes you think about the future of entertainment and the evolving relationship between technology and play.
I think that's a great place to leave it. Food for thought. What might the Rudy of the future look like? What kind of experiences will we be having in the years to come?
Hasta la
Only
vista,
time will tell.
Buster.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into FunHouse.
It's been a pleasure exploring this classic game with you.
And we'll see you next time for another deep dive.